Well, good morning, everyone. There were some technical difficulties this morning, and hopefully Lila is fine, and it was just a communications issue with her or something. And we're going to ask her to reschedule for another day to talk to our group. But fortunately, all the way from Cairo, Egypt, we have Emad Aysha, and he's willing to talk about gender issues in science fiction and in society in Egypt. And he has many credentials, both as a writer and I believe as an editor. I don't have his data in front of me, but he's also well known as a fan. And you've attended German and all over Europe and maybe even the US. I don't remember big science fiction conventions, and are a well known personality in science fiction. Thank heavens you were here. So I'm going to hand this over right now to our old friend of our group, Emad Aysha, in Cairo. Thank you very much, Emad.
My pleasure, and sorry for all the confusion and equipment problems over here. Okay, my name's Emad Aysha. I'm originally an academic. I'm also a journalist and a translator, and I've been in science fiction from roughly 2015, 2016. I'm in the Egyptian Society for Science Fiction, and now I'm a member of the Egyptian Writers Union. I have one anthology out in Arabic and one nonfiction book in English, Arab and Muslim Science Fiction, Critical Essays, McFarland, 2022. I'm not an expert on, say, women science fiction writers in Egypt, but I have written about gender and Egyptian science fiction or Arabic science fiction. And thank heavens, it's surprisingly equalitarian, surprisingly progressive. And here's, I'll give you a sample article here. As a member of the Egyptian Society for Science Fiction, we have our own publication, our own anthology, and we have cultural salons. And of course, we have lots of, we're very eager for female participation. And representation for women in SF in Egypt is a bit deceptive. If you look at science fiction, there are not that many women authors, but that's deceptive. Two reasons. One, if you look at other genre fields like horror and fantasy, women are very well represented. If anything, I think they're doing better than men. Two, in science fiction, you have to differentiate between novels and short fiction. If you look at short fiction, you'll find a lot more women authors compared to novels. And even so, there's no discrimination against women in the science fiction world. I can guarantee you that. And I've asked actual authors; they told me that too. There might be problems, the usual problems that authors face with publications and editing and all these things, but there's nothing against women, and particularly in SF. And thank heavens, the men in SF in Egypt are surprisingly progressive when it comes to women. And I know authors who are very conservative, very religiously conservative in their personal lives, but when they write, they have these proactive female characters, scientists, medical doctors, astronauts, military people who are women. They might not be the hero, but they do play a very proactive and important part in the story. So thank heavens on that front. And that's quite surprising even to me. I wouldn't have expected that, but I found that out writing this article. Deeper gender things, that's still vague and that needs more study, the gender themes in the writing itself. Now, looking at more contemporary stuff, and this article is a little while ago, 2021. We're on the verge of 2026. But I've noticed from the last Cairo International Book Fair, and that's the place to go to find out what's happening in the publishing world, the number of women writing science fiction is going up. And they're writing a lot of adventure science fiction. A friend who she writes horror and dark fantasy, but she introduced me to a friend who writes science fiction at the Cairo Book Fair, and that friend insisted on giving me a novel, and it was this thick, and it was some sort of again some sort of adventure story with a team in it. I still haven't read it; it's too big, and I have so many other reading duties. But looking at the changing scene, there's a lot of women and younger women getting into the SF field, and they're bringing in new ideas and a new sensibility to it. And I mean, one particularly nice novel I read is called "What If," Medelaw, What If, and written by let me check her name. I have the article in here. Ah, yeah, yeah. Is my voice clear and everything?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes,
Okay.
very clear, just fine, just like anybody's.
Yeah. This is a novel I really liked. The author, I think it's Sandra Neshat. As far as I'm aware, all of the novels she's written previous to that are romantic novels. This is probably her first science fiction novel. And she really surprises you. It's a very lovely narrative, very lovely flow to it, and it's centered on drama and romance and personality and choices, but done in a proper hard sci-fi format in a way that tricks you. I won't spoil the surprise. So I think that the authors that were in the other fields, the other genre fields or mainstream fields, are beginning to venture out into science fiction. And another, and she's the younger author, of course. Let me take a look at this.
Excuse me, what is her name again?
I think Sandra Neshat. Let me check.
You can put that, spell it, you know.
Sandra. I'll look it up. It's been a while.
Okay, but that's okay. You can do it later. Just keep going. That's fun.
Yeah, that's sorry, Sandra Sarag. My mistake. Yeah, Sandra Sarag. Yeah. To my
Okay.
knowledge, she wrote romance and drama novels. Now she's writing science fiction, or she decided to experiment with science fiction. Another important author who has done two-part series, space opera and epic fantasy kind of novel. Ah, Dr. Abir Abdul Jalil Ibrahim. Yeah, got an interview over here, and I've written about her in a recent article mine just published a chapter. It's yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting where the icon is. Yeah.
I want to thank you for jumping in. I realize how difficult this is, what you're trying to do. So thank you.
I still feel terribly guilty for missing Dr. Detterman's lecture, but I was attending an event at the same time. I was going to check it on my mobile phone, but it was a brand new one and I didn't have the proper headphones for it.
Well, you can
I
certainly
tried
watch
doing it
it
on
on
the
our,
mobile phone and it blocked it because of the Zoom on the first.
it's on our YouTube page. You can watch
I
the
know,
whole
but
thing.
I still should have been there for
Yeah,
his.
you should have been there. That's okay.
Yeah, she's done a two-part uh, epic and space opera, and she has a previous novel also. And she's very powerful and big, expansive imagination with so many characters and so many subplots. And again, this lovely female sensibility to the text, and with again a very maternal angle to it, along with well, not action adventure, but along with adventure and saving the world kind of thing. Um, and yeah, how do I say it? And I used her in a chapter I did called "Eyes and Others" in Egyptian science fiction, in or Egyptian science fiction in the Alien Mirror. I've forgotten the title now. It's just been published, but I'm too nervous. I can't think straight. And she's a centerpiece in the novel, in the article, because she's the epitome of the Egyptian science fiction when it comes to how we look at aliens, which is remarkably benign.
Oh,
And we love these very cosmopolitan polyglot settings of aliens. At the same time, there's an interesting angle in the story. Earth becomes uninhabitable because of a nuclear war, and human beings go to a planet called Kablar. It might actually be Kepler in English, I'm not sure, but in Arabic it's called Kablar. And the Kablarians accept the human beings, but they're completely different. They're intelligent and everything, but they're very cold and rational. They don't have religious beliefs. They don't believe in things like humor and fate and jokes and these things. They tolerate the humans, but they don't participate with them in things like religious ceremonies and things like that. But luckily, love stories happen between humans and Kablarians and friendships and things like that. And a human boy gets into trouble. He eats a roasted bird that got burned in a volcanic area. And on Kablar, there's such pacifistic people, slaughtering animals is illegal. So him and the Kablarian boy, his friend, they get banished to an area on the planet. And who rescues them but a half human, half Kablarian woman, a wise woman. And the people who run the planet are these elders, the wise men, the scientists, and they're actually secretly plotting to blow the planet up and go to another planet and take over it. I think they're fed up of sharing power or something like that. It's a long, complex story. But again, it's this wonderful family type drama.
Hmm.
And I suspected while I was reading the novel that the way the Kablarians are portrayed is the way we as Arabs look at Westerners. We see them as overly rational people and not emotional. Not like us. We're very emotionally explosive people, these kind of things. They're very rational and scientific, and it allows for progress and careers, but we see them as being cold. And I asked her, and she pretty much confirmed it. Um, So yeah, but again, but nonetheless, there's good peaceful coexistence between the two, and they both realize that they have the same enemy, these elite groups who want to destroy their world, and they work with each other. And like I said, you have all these hybrid families and religious mixtures. The wise woman who's like a fairy godmother and dressed in white and her hair's covered. Um, her mother was a human and a Christian. She's a Muslim, but her father was a Kablarian and married her brother. So you have this wonderful polyglot mixing going on, and this kind of call for national unity, you could say. And if you're an Egyptian, you can recognize a lot of this symbolism, a lot of these hints going on. And this is true of Egyptian science fiction in general, but really, I think the women they take it to a whole other level. They make it much more explicit and center place. With us, the men, it's more part of the background noise. So that there's that thing. I don't have enough background on women science fiction and women science fiction writers in Palestinian science fiction because it's still a new field. But I did do a couple of interviews. I'll post them here. Okay, but I won't talk about
I'm sure Tim Saba will appreciate that, and he's from that background. Yeah, we'll piece it all together, but this is a very good introduction, I think, to this whole women and Egyptian and Muslim women and Egyptian women futures.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Emad.
My pleasure.
While people are looking at that, I just want to remind them that at the end, before you leave, what you can do is just there's three dots at the top of your chat window. If I'm on a PC, I don't know where it would be if you're on a phone, but look for the three dots or save chat, and you can save all these references. It'll go to your download. It will say save chat or something will be the title, and look at the date on the file, and that will prove that that's what it is. I'm just cutting and pasting them individually into Notepad, but it's more tedious to do it that way.
I have a question for Emad. Emad, can you tell us if there is any connection or influence of the late Egyptian writer Anis Mansour about his series about these the books that of those who descended from the skies, الذين هبطوا من السماء, based on some Dutch researcher about those sketches and in the desert with, that presumably shows people like astronauts that have descended from the heavens.
That's a very good question. Egyptian science fiction writers and lots of Egyptians are very into chariots of the gods type scenarios. And and that book is known in Egypt. And I even came across it on the street, the secondhand books being sold on the street once. I didn't buy it, but it was there. So they're very fond of that, and they're very fond of conspiracy theories, things like what's it called? Not the Bermuda Triangle and the Philadelphia experiment. And there is actually a kind of, I mean, Dr. Detterman knows about this much more than me. There is a kind of UFO cult in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. I don't know if Anis Mansour specifically read those things, but I mean, he's probably part of that same atmosphere. And but there's a twist in the tale. Lots of Egyptian authors do stories with aliens who came to Earth in ancient history and or prehistory and had contact with humans, but they insist that the aliens looked at the ancient Egyptians, saw that they were the only people who were actually doing anything, and decided to help them. Or the ancient Egyptians themselves were so advanced they went into outer space to begin with. And those aliens are actually human, former Egyptians. Had Sharif has stories like that. A friend of mine, what was his name? When a guy I know in the Egyptian Society for Science, a young guy, I'm trying to remember his name. He did a story like that as well, where they go into outer space and they find an Egyptian symbol along the way. It wasn't what the story is about. And I read a kind of a B-movie type novel also, where this alien has been traveling for a long time because of time dilation, and he comes back and he's surprised how primitive the humans are compared to the ancient Egyptians who made it to Mars. So this is a kind of Egyptian exceptionalism. Egyptians patting themselves on the back. And also using science fiction and horror to talk about things like elitism. There was a famous horror movie made by Hamid Shibl, a famous director. And it was an adaptation of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but done with vampires. And the vampire being really the real estate tycoon and the landlord, screwing the renter in the Sadat era with the shift to liberalism away from socialism. So I think that's what's going on. Partly it's Egyptian exceptionalism with a little chariots of the gods, combined with commentary, sneaky social commentary on the state of the country. Classman, I was just reading a book about children's science fiction in Egypt. It's still a bit new, and they gave the example of this nice play where the spaceship goes to a planet populated by I think midgets, and they have paralysis in their hands. And the scientist figures out the reason is they don't work for a living, they don't produce anything. So it's a psychological problem. And he gets the employees on the spaceship, who are there by accident actually, to teach these people how to do agriculture, in imitation of Egypt, the first country that had agriculture in history, as he sees. And in the reading about it, I haven't read the actual play itself, but reading about it, they mention that the planet lives off of aid, foreign aid and imports. So when I read that, I knew straight away that the author was actually talking about Egypt. Because we import most of our grain, and we're supposed to be the country that invented agriculture, and we live off aid money and import everything. We don't produce anything anymore. So he was doing this kind of tongue-in-cheek social criticism, again, using an alien planet as a mirror for what's wrong with us, but in a nice way, in a humorous way that's appealing to kids. And like I assume that's what Anis Mansour was doing. He had a great sense of humor, tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. He's a practical joker as well.
Yeah, very interesting what you're saying. Also, I think, often and really more than often, we hear that the pyramids themselves were very old and it would have been impossible to, normal human beings building them, and that there is some interesting nuclear or some kind of strange electromagnetic reactor in the middle that communicates with the heavens and beyond. And these stories are in Western society, I mean, here, and we hear more and more about them. I mean, I personally believe that it is a very almost impossible feat for people of 5,000 years ago to build the pyramids. But it does that feat also that the Egyptian react to these in the same way?
The myths, things like conspiracy theories and paranoia, they get invented by somebody else, gets digested by another group of people. So the image that certain people had about ancient Egypt in the West, archaeologists, and in the early days of archaeology when it wasn't a proper science. And George Piazzi Smythe, his whole thing about the pyramid inch, and his kind of mathematization of the pyramids and where we built and the energy fields and these kind of things. That originally comes from those crackpots back then, but it's been digested by Egyptians. I was asking a friend who also has the Sphinx as in one of his stories, and he tells me, there's supposed to be a secret passageway or something in his ear. That's something that was invented by some um, crude archaeologists, but it's been digested by the Egyptians, and they think it's a legend that they have. It was actually something foreign, along with like Masonic conspiracies and these kind of things, Masonic lodges. So it gets recycled, but the good thing about the recycling is that the authors are imprinting they're innovating and imprinting their concerns onto the stories. An author I interviewed and I read her novel. I met her also at Cairo. I'll see if I can find her name here. Yeah, I'll put it up here. Yeah, Esma Yamani or Al Yamani. I looking at the bookshelves, you find these endless ancient Egyptian this, ancient Egyptian that, and black magic this, and devil Satan worship that. And I've avoided them. They looked tacky and bad. They looked like stuff that was just recycled from the West. But when I actually finally did read one, because I bumped into an author, and her mother was there, and she encouraged me to read the novel. Said, when you read it, you'll thank me. I read it and I liked it. It's a horror, supernatural thriller, not science fiction. But again, there's this Egyptian imprinting onto it, and people are innovating their own style and their own motifs, and they're I don't say subverting the expectations. I don't like this cliche way of talking, but they're doing their own thing. They're just using that as a backdrop. They may have started out doing just imitations, but now they're doing their own thing. They're concerned with the Egyptian national character. They're concerned with the independence of the country. They're concerned with the heritage and what we can learn from it or revive it, and these kind of things. And they're synthesizing it all together. Ancient Egypt with the Arabic and Muslim culture, with kind of cosmopolitan attitude towards the outside world, and the whole universe, aliens and these things. And it's all coming together very nicely. It's been a long time coming, but now it's finally bearing fruit.
I want to speak to that because I've always loved Egyptian culture. And I may have told you the last time you spoke, Emad, that I used to go as often as I could to the Field Museum in Chicago, where they had a very big Egyptian exhibit there, permanent exhibit. And I wanted to be an Egyptologist, but I was unable to for various reasons. But I have studied, studied the art, especially because I'm an artist, but just all the advances and understanding with such a limited view, and you have a parallax view to what the West has, what especially the US led West. It is interesting just to hear you talk because you're starting to show that parallax view. That's the word I tend to use, that astronomers use. Every place on Earth can view the same asteroid, but they will have a parallax view, and it will be slightly different in the coordinates because of where they're at. And I think we can view any topic and have the same thing within science fiction. Your parallax view on that topic in Egypt the plural you, is different than what we would have here in the States or even regions of the States. So your remarks are very revelatory. I was going to ask, are there any Egyptian women's groups, associations of science fiction or fantasy or horror writers?
Not to my knowledge, no. There's the Nahad Sharif Cultural Salon, which is run by the daughter of Nahad Sharif, but it's in honor of Nahad Sharif, who's the first proper science fiction writer in the Arab world. Uh, can't think of any. Not to my knowledge. There might be, but I wouldn't know.
Well, they may
I haven't heard of any.
start, yeah, maybe just starting up. But often that's where it goes. Then the women start to have their own literary salons and associations. And perhaps when we hear Lila, if we can set that up in July, she'll know about women's associations. And but you have an amazing knowledge of women writers. I'm impressed because you're doing this, just hacking it together on the fly. And so keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, I still think I'm a starter. I still think I'm an amateur in that area. I'm a I don't give women enough role to play in my stories, in my short stories at least. They're still a bit too macho.
So would you say that you might model some of your changes as, for instance, Isaac Asimov did? He started out without women as scientists, and then he invented that wonderful character, Susan Calvin. And, might you go in that direction? Or I'm sure there are much more
Oh
recent
yeah, no,
ones. I
I'm
just
sorry.
can't think
I
of
mean,
them.
my published short stories and my short story larger, there I do have female scientists. I still
Mhm,
need to find ways to get them into action roles where they're proactive and they do something.
mhm.
Where I mean, they can save the day through the science, but not through the action yet. But I've only been writing like 2015, 2016, and my short story. No, 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 wait, no, no. Now I remember. Yeah, sorry. I do have one published short story where I have a boy and a girl, brother and sister, and their kids, and they're the ones who save the day. And if anything, the girl is the smarter one. Sorry, it's been a while since I just wrote that a long time ago, so it slipped my mind. Sorry. But the other stuff I've
Wonderful.
been writing recently has been a bit too macho. I do have women scientists who have they're inventors and they produce an amazing invention, but the man is the one who saves her or protects the invention from being destroyed or something like that. I got too much into the macho persona, but that original story with the boy and girl who were put in well, it's a controversial story. I won't go. But there, yeah, the girl is the smarter one. She's the well-read one and the strategist and everything like that. And her brother, he wants to be the one who protects her, to be the big boy, but he ends up usually doing what she says because she's smarter than him, or she. I wanted the family, this Bedouin family, to be sort of the future Arab family, the new family. But I kind of got sidetracked with my other things, writing and work duties, and you can't focus enough.
I have a question that goes back to Ray Bradbury, where the colonists are on Mars and they find themselves becoming Martian, as in the story Dark They Were and Golden Eyed. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular story. It's where the family begins to take on Martian names, and they have gold flecks in their eyes. And the Mr. Bittering, who's a very embittered colonist who wants to keep it earthly, everything like Earth, just like the British, civil service. And he's upset. And then he starts to think, oh my God, I think I see gold flecks in their eyes, even. And he's so upset. And the whole gist of the story is that they're slowly becoming Martian and he's resisting at every turn. So, are there any echoes of that kind of story that you'd like to do?
Um, I would love to do something like that. Lee Stephens has a story where colonists are on a planet and there's horrible disease killing them, and they have to cooperate with the natives to find out what's causing the disease and how to stop it. And the central character is a woman doctor. I think she lost her son or her daughter to the disease. And I mean, it's in the interview I did of Elise Stevens, and it's basically an anti-colonial science fiction story where they have to look at the natives as equals and learn from them and their wisdom. That
Yeah,
would be something like that.
that is good. And we had a speaker called, oh God, blue as your eye or something. I can't quite remember the title, but it was about people on a planet where they're sort of crustacean, almost insect looking, but their civilization is more advanced than Earth. And this anthropologist and his family are on this planet studying these beings. And the daughter becomes very ill. And it turns out, for some reason, their blue blood can be transplanted into the daughter to save her life. But then she shares their horror and hatred of the color blue. So when they go back to Earth, she has to wear special glasses so as not to see the blue sky, and blue things really upset her. And it's a very interesting take on color. And I'll look it up. I'll send you the reference.
Thank you.
There's a lot of news coming from Egypt right now about your giant museum, the Grand Egyptian Museum. Have you been to see it yet?
I'm afraid not. It's just too busy. So many bureaucratic things to do here.
Is there a big list or a big queue to get in because it's just so new and popular?
Yes, it's a big matter of national pride. Even
Yeah,
people
I
in
mean,
opposition liked it.
do you have to be on a long list just to get a ticket to get in?
Yes.
So it may be a while, but we hope, maybe later in the next talk you will have seen it. We've seen a YouTube video, a marvelous one that's about, I don't know, this long, 30 some minutes or 40 minutes, probably produced in Egypt by the people of that institution. And how would you describe what makes this different from the current ways that Egyptian history is preserved? What is the big improvement?
Ooh.
I know
The
it's
old
big.
museum is just become too crowded.
Mhm.
And a foreign friend was visiting the country, so I insisted we go there. And I'd been there a long time ago when I was a kid. It's just become way too crowded, and there's an awful lot of things to cover. So and it didn't have this. You didn't have a proper tour guide showing you. The first time I went there as a kid, you had a woman archaeologist commenting and telling us stuff. This is so and so. It was wonderful. It's had a kind of magical atmosphere. It became too commercial the last time I went there. And you had different rates for foreigners and for Arab foreigners compared to Egyptians and these things. I'm hoping the new one doesn't have that problem. And I think the emphasis on students going there. Oh yeah, and I just remembered something. I did a historical story once, which I haven't been able to publish typically, and there the central character is a woman, uh,
Oh,
a Greek woman in well, ancient Egypt, Hellenistic Egypt, or Roman Egypt. And the people who refused to publish it did like the story, but they said it's just not suitable for what we're looking for. And I do have, I am trying to develop a series, science fiction series, with a character who's a female spy, and she does the action stuff. But again, I haven't been able to publish it. I've only written like 2 stories in that series. So so my brain shifts gears in a certain direction, and I forget the other things I did. Sorry about
oh,
that.
we know that problem.
Yeah. So no, there I'm trying to. I mean, they're written in the third person, but it's from the perspective of that central character. So I'm trying to look at things uh, for, from a woman's perspective.
And how does that feel when you're trying to write as a woman? Is it difficult or?
Uh, say it's actually quite enjoyable. if you like the character, if you love the character, you want her to be beautiful and you want her to be radiant and you want her to be the center of attraction. But I still need to read more and like, female spy fiction or female or a woman's drama, like period drama with a woman character. Most of what I read is science fiction and spy fiction, but predominantly written by men.
Mhm.
And because I have to rely on the secondhand market here in Egypt, out on the streets, I don't even have access to the university library anymore because I'm not a professor. So, but yeah, I think I can do it. I think I can piece it together bit by bit.
Well, that's interesting that you find it enjoyable to write from the perspective of a woman. And I don't know how to phrase this, but do you try to think as a woman when you're writing as a woman, as being a subject and not just an object of,
Yes, definitely.
and she's quite aware of this.
The historical story I did, my initial take on it was makeup. In the ancient world, you had to make your own makeup. You had to cook it in your own house. You couldn't buy it from a store. And it's a complicated chemical process. And wouldn't you know, Cleopatra, she actually did a chemical treatise on makeup. A very good education. The Hellenistic world, excellent education system, equal for boys and girls. And they benefited a lot from ancient Egyptian law, which actually was quite allowed women to own property and sign contracts with a male guardian and these kind of things. And I was going to do that, but the trouble is I couldn't find the name of the makeup items in ancient Egyptian or in ancient Greek or whatever. It's all the modern chemical names. So I ditched that side of it, but I focused on the woman getting ready for a event and looking in the mirror, you know, the thing, the reflective thing, and again this kind of cosmopolitan thing where she has some ancient Egyptian embroidery, but using classical Greek clothing and makeup and doing her hairdo in a certain way, and these kind of things, and she's recreating her lost world, so to speak. She's a Hellenistic person in Alexandria, but in Roman Egypt. And she, you know, vaguely knows of the ancient Egyptians, you know, beyond the borders of her city. It's like a foreign country. But she does definitely like the architecture and the chemistry and these things.
And what period is this woman living in, actually?
In Hellenistic in Roman Egypt.
Hellenistic. Okay.
Roman
Yeah,
Empire.
I'm writing as you're speaking. It's sometimes hard to keep up.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to reveal too much of the story. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to steal your ideas, but I just
No, I mean, I
wondered.
don't want to ruin the stories for somebody to
Oh
read.
yeah,
At
yeah,
the
no.
moment, I've started a small steampunk series set in Egypt in the future, but with a kind of revived ancient Egypt. But again, the characters there are all men. You have a priest and you have a boy apprentice, and they're scientists at the same time, inventors and these things. I've got to find a way to shift out of that gear. And the but I've been focusing there too much on the technology with men being in charge of everything. I've got to find a way to get girls into it.
I have another question.
Women,
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going on? I'm sorry. In terms of your readership, when you make these changes, does this mean you're getting different readers, a different market?
what readership struggle to get published?
I don't know. You
Um,
tell me.
my friends read my things. The male authors, female, they both love them, and they like how sensitive the man is. Even if he's macho, he does have his love stories,
Mhm.
and they like that aspect. They praise that aspect, but again, it still hasn't been published, sadly. Um, ooh, my style of writing is too esoteric. The subjects I'm interested in are too esoteric, too mixture of Near Eastern and thing. So I have a terrible time getting published in English, and I write mainly in English. I get friends to translate things to Arabic for me. I'm going to hopefully have 2 or 3 anthologies in the upcoming Cairo International Book Fair, which are translated in Arabic. But something I noticed, the translator, the stories that I sent him, a friend of mine put me in, got him for me. Two of the stories he translated in a very literal way, and he couldn't understand the humor. And I felt that he was maybe using AI to translate. One particular story, however, it was very close to the original English, and you could tell that the translator enjoyed it. And it was, wouldn't you know, it was the romantic story. No, no, sorry. Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, no, no. Two stories were very literal. Two stories were very close to the original Arabic, close to the original English, and you could tell that the translator enjoyed those stories more because they're not. Um, say it again. It's the romantic aspect and the smooth narrative that got to him. And even in the stories that he translated in a very literal way, the humor stuff that involves boys being humorous with each other, you know, boys will be boys. Kind of, he couldn't understand the jokes and he couldn't translate them. They probably didn't like them. But the romantic parts or the more loving parts, he did very well. I did a short story where I based it on a real experience where the hero and his friend are in an art gallery and they like a particular painting, and then they go out and talk and stuff like that, and they get agitated, get into a kind of heated debate, and they go back to the art gallery and they steal a bit of paint from it, clip it off in a clandestine way, and then they make a hologram for it because the artist, was using three-dimensional paint, and they discover that it's actually a portal into a space-time portal, and the artist was also a physicist, and they go into the painting and they become the painter, and the painter is doing a romantic thing where he's trying to preserve the beauty of a girl that he met and drew in that painting, and I kind of modeled it on a real story. I was with a friend and we went to an art gallery. There's a whole bunch of humorous things. The story, when the guy translated it, the stuff, the banter between the two male characters, he couldn't understand and he didn't enjoy, and he was doing it very literally. And I think he was using Google Translate. The romantic stuff, where they go into the painting and they become the painter, he did perfectly. So, male and female readers who are Arabic, they relate straight away to the drama and romance. So I think that they'll respond well if I have a story told from a heroine's perspective.
So this translator was not Arabic. He was someone who knows
Somebody in Egypt, non-Egyptian, like he's a friend
non-Egyptian.
of a
Yeah,
friend. I don't know him
yeah.
personally.
Okay, so he was a non-Egyptian, and so a lot of the local colloquial
No, he's an
banter.
Egyptian, but he couldn't understand my jokes because they're in English.
Oh, because he was
Right.
an
Yeah, okay,
Egyptian, and I
yeah,
forgot you said you write in English. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, getting a little turned around. I see a question from Bob McMillan here in the chat, or some comment.
I can give you an example of that. An Algerian friend wanted me to translate a story of his from English into Arabic, and my Arabic is terrible. I had to use Google Translate. It didn't work in the end. But his story, he'd originally written it in French, then a friend translated it to in English. And reading it, you felt like it was in Arabic. It felt like it was told from an Arabic perspective. It's a time travel story centered in Baghdad, the Abbasid days, and told from the point of view of a jurist at that time. And it really feels like it was written in Arabic, even though it was originally written in French. Another example, Musa Wild Ibnu, famous Mauritanian author, he writes both in Arabic and French, and he writes the Arabic first, and he tries to make the French fit in with it. I tried to enter one of his stories into a horror contest or supernatural contest. I couldn't translate even two sentences from the first paragraph of his story, so I gave it to a Sudanese friend who's an old timer. And it took him a while, but he was able to do an impeccable translation using very classical English, and it fit the story perfectly, even though it's written in very old Arabic, the kind I can't understand. I speak modern standard Arabic and Egyptian Arabic. So, in to answer your question, most of the time translation doesn't work. But if you have someone who can get the pitch and tempo of the story, who can understand the story and understand the author, it can work really well. You'd be surprised. Again, it depends on the if it's just a job, you get paid, or you're actually enjoying the story and you can relate to it.
I could
I
read
think
that
that's it.
in, yeah, in Eastern European languages, the Slavic languages, you can pick that up too, where it's mechanical or it's well done and lively.
Yeah, Dostoevsky translates very well into Arabic, and Shakespeare translates very well into Arabic. And
Oh,
there's a good reason for that. The kind of world they're describing fits in with our world. I mean, The Brothers Karamazov is a very popular text in Egypt. It was made into a movie, an Egyptian movie called The Enemy Brothers. And when you watch it, I've watched the old Brenner version, the scene where the
mhm.
father is saying, talking about his wife, she gave me that inheritance not to give to so and so because he would squander. We all laugh in Egypt because we all know somebody like that, some selfish relative who keeps the inheritance to some elder brother or uncle or something like that. So there's cultural similarities as well. I write in a very Englishy way, like John le Carre and Graham Greene, because I love British spy novels. And also, I use colloquial English, so Egyptian friends have a terrible time translating. But like I said,
Wow.
if this, but it's not really the language because I mean, my Algerian friend, Dr. Faisal Lahmar, he has a novel. It's called, a novel called Amin al-Alwani, incredible kind of anti-postmodernist novel. It's set in the future. A biographer is doing a study of a author before him, who's also in the future, called Amin al-Alwani. And then he discovers that this author in the past found a novel written before him called Amin al-Alwani by Dr. Faisal. And you have this past, present, and future all colliding with each other. And this author, Emil Arwani, begins to doubt himself and look at this previous novel uh, written by a real author, and so on, so not with these social media type people. These guys, and it's written in impeccable Arabic, and at the same time, it feels modern and hip, like you're reading John le Carre. It has the same kind of sense of humor and a little sarcasm, and it's very flexible. It's not these elongated, uh, tight, overly verbose classical Arabic, even though it's written in very good Arabic. So there are ways of getting around that if you're really smart and if you're really dedicated.
I have a question. Is Egyptian Arabic very distinguishable from other Arabics, or is it a standard Arabic?
No, no, it's very distinguishable. It's the most popular dialect in the Arab world. We produce most of the movies and most of the television,
Oh,
and we have
okay.
the big pop stars and singers, and cinema began in Egypt. And it's the most relaxed of the dialects. Lebanese Arabic is popular too, and Tunisian Arabic is very popular, but no, really, Egypt is very different.
Hmm.
Um, Other Arabic dialects like Iraqi are very heavy. And I mean, I worked as a translator for I mean, newspapers and things like that. Gulf Arabs, their style can be a bit long-winded, and they can use some archaic words, but you can handle it. Lebanese, they use language from before Islam. They use words we don't understand or expressions because they're trying to show off and be more Arabic than the Arabs. Syrians are also difficult. Iraqis are quite heavy. Um, Jordanians are cool. They're easier to read and also impeccable Arabic. I think also Algerians they do speak Arabic very well in their writing. I haven't read enough, sadly. I can't speak about other Arabic countries. The Sudanese are relaxed like us, and again they have a tendency towards poetry. I'd say that
So,
they're maybe
oh,
clear to classical Arabic than us, the, but again they have the very relaxed, hip style of writing, and they all love jazz and everything. They're Africans at heart.
so Egyptians started the whole film industry, and you know that
Yep.
that sort of sets a tone. We call it BBC English. The media often standardized. So did that influence a lot of the other Arabics, the Egyptian, because of the film industry and being the biggest media producer?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's interesting. I'm not
yeah.
much. I'm many of us don't know all that much about the linguistic ins and outs between your countries there.
Yeah, here an important point. The guy who established Studio Masr was the famous businessman, entrepreneur, Talat Harb. And he was the guy who set up the first Bank of Egypt, and he set up the first textile mills in Egypt. And he was the guy who was trying to industrialize Egypt, and in the private sector and in the civil society. And he set up Studio Masr. And a friend of mine, an academic, said when he set it up, he was thinking in terms of what today we'd call soft power. He knew that this would give Egypt a lot of clout in the Arab world.
Interesting. And what era was that?
Ooh, was it 1920s, early 20th century? I'm trying to remember now.
I ask because I've seen some old Egyptian movies that are out on YouTube, and those women and the cocktail parties, it was very international the way they were depicted in those very old black and white 1930s, 40s films. I was
Yeah,
impressed.
yeah. The pioneers of the movie industry in Egypt actually were Jews, European Jews, Swiss Italian Jews, and Italian Jews, and I think some Moroccan Jews as well. Some of the oldest movies, and there are a lot of Jewish stars.
Oh,
Also in the music industry, a lot of singers who are Jewish, say from Morocco or what other countries were there, or Egyptians. Yeah, no, it's a great cosmopolitan atmosphere.
mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting take because it was very Parisian. I remember a lot of the people were speaking French, interspersing, even though I had captions. They would go off into French, not just be speaking Egyptian in these
That's
parties.
true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the longest time, they had dual language when it came to the credits, Arabic and French. But all the way into the 1980s, a lot of movies would have French credits as well. Yeah, we used to have something called French Night. I can't remember if it was Channel 3 or Channel 2, where the whole day was in French, one day a week. We used to do that. They don't do it anymore, sadly.
Well, this shows where your cultural past has been influenced for many, many years by European culture. And I know there are some people now trying to move away from that, as in many non-European places, understandably so. And but it sounds like you're very relaxed, Emad, using things from this, pulling from this and that rather than making a stand and being like, I don't want any of that because that's theirs.
Well, yeah, that's the argument I made in my chapter, Eyes and Others in Egyptian Science Fiction. Um, I said the Egyptian science fiction is different from Western science fiction. I'm generalizing too much, alien invasions, that kind of thing. It's different from mainstream Egyptian pop culture as well. Mainstream Egyptian pop culture over the past so many years has become very xenophobic, and not just against foreigners, against fellow Arabs.
Mm.
And you can tell that it's deliberate, that there's some sort of machinations going on behind the scenes. Egypt is and I found that out finally explicitly from a lecture by a French guy speaking Arabic, and he was saying that isolationism and the realist novel, focusing just on people's problems, don't give them ambitions, don't give them dreams and aspirations and these kind of things. And Naguib Mahfouz got swept up in that feeding frenzy. Thank heavens, the only people bucking the trend are the science fiction writers in Egypt. And thank heavens, an increasing number of women getting involved. And if anything, I think they're doing a better job than the men. They're even more cosmopolitan than us.
That is very interesting and telling. That it's
and a lot of these authors, incidentally, are very conservative Muslim women, very, very shy. They blush and things like that. Very, very decent women, and not from Cairo, a long time from the countryside or from other cities. And they're doing this tremendously cosmopolitan stuff, maybe more cosmopolitan than us, the guys. It really makes you proud.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I'm sure maybe some of that would have been said by Lila and will be, if she comes in again in the summer. This is something I would not have expected, that it's coming from the outskirts and the countryside rather than Cairo, many of these very cosmopolitan women. How are they getting so cosmopolitan if they're out in the countryside?
That's a good question. Cairo is where most of the publishers are, but thank heavens, the internet and ebooks and audiobooks, it's
Mhm.
getting around that barrier, and also the demographics are changing. And the number of educated people in the countryside or in the provinces is much bigger than before. Universities there. I mean, even Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq, he wasn't from Cairo, he was from the countryside. He was the big success story. And even
Mhm.
Nabil Farouk also, I think, was from the countryside. I don't think he was originally from Cairo. And Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq, he stayed in his province, he's buried there, tragically. Sadly, he's passed away. But yeah, now that's a very good question. Oh, I suppose yeah, I know. A lot of them are. Some of them go to the Gulf. They go to Saudi Arabia or the Emirates or Kuwait, and they publish from there, or
Uh-huh.
they get well known there. I did
Mhm.
actually read a novel once written in English. I've got it here, and I think it was published in Saudi Arabia by an Egyptian author. She's okay. Let's see. Is it? Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, Iman Nabi. Yeah, that's her. Oh yeah, one more thing I should say about women authors in Egypt. They're more innovative when it comes to narrative. With men, you
Oh.
can get like a book where every chapter is told by a certain character, or you have a person recounting his tale in the Thousand and One Nights type format. But most of what the guys write, and that includes myself, is this kind of linear beginning, middle, and end novel.
Mhm.
The girls are much more innovative. And this author, she's writing it like that TV series Station 11, where a single episode is retold several times from the point of view of different characters in that, all involved in that scene.
Oh, also
It's
known
like
as the
Station 11.
Rashomon effect. And then they,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, same
yeah,
thing. Karl Čapek had that too, in Meteor. He retold the same man who'd crashed and was unable to speak from various POVs. So that's interesting that the women are picking up on that.
yeah. And like I said, they're doing it much better than us.
Hmm.
When I watched the Ridley Scott movie, what was it called? The Last Duel. And I didn't like it at all, except for the last part where it was told from the point of view of the woman. I've forgotten her name, but the actress. She's also in 28 Years Later. Great actress. The rest of the movie I didn't like at all. I didn't like either male character. I didn't like the actors playing them. I didn't like the characters. The stories were boring and cheesy. And Ridley Scott
Predictable.
really messed up. I'm sad to say, right?
Well, this is
But
this is a
thank
very
heavens she is the saving grace to the movie.
I
And
think that that's an interesting thing. The women bring in a very different sensibility, and maybe because they're more tuned into human relationships, they're able to ground it on this one is saying this, then look over here. Her reaction is, whereas men are going, this is a point, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
I think I got an email from Layla. Let me check.
Oh,
Uh, let's see. Dear Gloria, so very sorry, made a mistake. I have next week on my calendar. Oh, sorry.
oh, okay. So it was just an oversight, and we'll reschedule, Layla. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, no,
But
sorry
it
for
gave
that
us
that
this
out.
opportunity. This is fantastic.
I'm sure Dr. Layla can do a much better job than me.
Well, on her aspects, yes. But now I figure we've gone on a bit. What are the questions? We haven't opened it up for questions, and now they have plenty of material from you because this is all new to most of us. Do you have questions for Dr. Aisha or
Okay, I'm
observation?
ready.
Oh, okay.
Uh, could I have the emails actually of Mr. Tim and Mr. Ryder?
Yes, you can. I think you can. I mean, I can't speak for them. I'm like their
Ye-
ventriloquist. No,
ye-
I'm sure they will
Yeah,
be happy.
yes, absolutely, Gloria. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and if you want to give it out to the whole group, you can just put it in the chat. So the ones you're asking for are John Ryder's and Tim Saba's. I can give those.
I'm writing it right now.
Well, it's too bad that Matthias Dieterman isn't here too. He had so many interesting parallax views of everything. But we did just great. And I think this is one of those examples like community theater where you think, oh, this can't, now we'll just have to go home. But we didn't. And look what we did.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Gloria. I had a great time listening to Dr. Emad Aisha. Very, very informative. Thank you.
I think he's
My
going to
pleasure.
become one of our favorite speakers. Really, you're amazing.
I mean, I learned the hard way to improvise on my feet as a professor who didn't have any proper teacher training. Let me put it that way.
Do a good job. Well, any other questions? Questions, anyone? We can have a few minutes on. I don't know if people know enough. That's the problem. A lot of this is we're just digesting it. So when you come back in the summer, maybe we'll get more questions when people have looked at a few of these um, different writers or things that actually are available on film. Oh, Starlet Swan has raised a hand. And go ahead, Starlet. Unmute yourself if you're muted.
I was muted. Thank you, Gloria, for reminding me. Um, Imad, I would like to make um, three observations. One, when you were explaining about the different dialogues, about you not being able to read Arab, I was surprised. I didn't know about the dialects. And while you were talking, you reminded me of the Roman Empire because at the end, and obviously once it fell, you had all the countries that would speak Latin, but then the regular people will speak a dialect of Latin. And from those dialects, we have Castilian, French, Portuguese, etc., the Romance languages. So you kind of reminded me of that. Like there are new languages developing derived from Arab, which is very rich, I think. Um, the other, and I do believe because I am bilingual, and I know when translating is something that you cannot do literally. Because, for example, in English, we say it's raining cats and dogs, but in Spanish, we say that it's raining vases filled with water. Because when they fall, they crash, and it kind of mimics the sounds of the storm. But so when you translate from English into Spanish, you cannot say it's raining cats and dogs because the Spanish people speaking Spanish, they would not understand the reference. And I kind of think that's what happened to you with that translation.
Yeah, in my I have a spy story series. I've been able to publish two small stories of them, but not with all the characters in them. You have the hero and his sidekick, so to speak, and they both speak English, and the story's in English, but they speak English as well. And his sidekick has terrible English. He's Mauritanian, and he's better with French and Spanish and these kind of things. So he's always mispronouncing words, and it's part of the humor of the story, while as the hero's in the classic Anglophile and that kind of thing. And he's sort of mean with changes. that couldn't transfer sadly into the Arabic translation. I had to remove a lot of things because yeah, the mispronouncing a word in English, but you put it in Arabic and saying it's pronounced this way, he wouldn't recognize the word anyway. So we had to cut it out. It ends up being very formal. The kind of classical Arabic is very formal,
Mhm.
a bit too tight, which is a shame because the tonality of the story in English is very important for the humor. It's not important so much for the themes, but it's important for the humor and the characters.
Mhm.
Also, there's an English character in the stories, and he has this, pompous way of talking and twisting words and using mixed metaphors. Again, that doesn't transfer into the Arabic, and I had to remove certain. The guy translated literally, but I said no, you just complicate things, and the joke isn't there. Let's just take that out. But thank heavens, the emotional stuff was even better than it was in English, and the
Oh,
science stuff. Some of it transferred very well. Others didn't. But
well,
yeah. Again, it seems to be the translator and what mood he is. If he woke up in a good mood or a bad mood. I had a very long story with a lot of complicated science in it, and the guy understood it perfectly and wrote it. Another short story with not too complicated science, and he had a terrible time. It's very random.
the thing is that translation is an art. So it can really enrich what has been written, or it can detract from it. So having a good translator is so important. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I believe it was a German that came up with the theory of aliens building the pyramids and Stonehenge and all the old wonders of the world. And basically, what surprised me when I found out about that was that it was it was a racist way of thinking. The fact that of thinking that that is so good what was done that it's impossible for humans to have done it. So we need to bring somebody from outer space to build it. And that really puts it's really not believing in human beings and our capabilities. We always surprise what we can do for the good and for the bad. But to already say you cannot achieve something that was done good because it was so well done, it is so sad. And
I
no, go ahead, go ahead.
When I taught, I used to teach a subject called scientific thinking. It's my favorite course of all the courses I taught. I mostly taught electives and things like that, core courses. And I would tell my students that the people in the olden days produced all these incredible things, partly because they didn't have the distractions that we have today. They didn't have machines doing things for them, so they had to think up their own solutions. And I mean, I always tell them that we only use about 7% of our brain consciously. But these people, they didn't have television, radio, newspapers, nothing to distract them. Imagine the amount of untapped mental potential they could access. I think that's why they were so brilliant and why they did such incredible, massive things.
The thing is that to me also, um, to me it's just funny when I think about somebody coming from outer space coming here to Earth to build monuments. When we think of us going to outer space, going to the moon, going to Mars, we do not conceive we're going to go over there and create a monument. That's kind of silly. because
It's
and and then you leave and the monument stays here. Okay, so it just doesn't follow a rationale for me. Um, and the other thing that I wanted to ask you and come and mm, have you, I'm really happy to hear that you're thinking about incorporating more women into your stories in a more active role, having more agency. But have you considered also talking to women? Not only writing, imagining that you're a woman, but also sitting down with a woman and say, in a situation like this, how would you react? How do you feel? And different women will have different points of view. So, have you considered that?
I asked a lady friend of mine once about to describe pregnancy for me, but I forgot that she didn't have any kids. But so I just went online and I found accounts by of women who were pregnant, and nonfiction accounts, and I used that and I showed the chapter to a lady friend who's an author, and she has kids. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. So
But not,
yeah, I should do that more, but I have so many different things to do. My brain just is disconnected from itself. But I should do that more. Yes, and I'm trying to read now more. I've just got a Cold War novel written by a woman, and the hero in it is a woman as well. So I want to get that different stylistic perspective and the different operational perspective. I just wish I
I
had more time.
oh I totally understand you. The thing also is that it's not just about women's issues, but even in regular things, women, we have a special way of seeing things. So it not just for specific women's issue like having a baby, but even talking about politics or the way we see the world and how we think about things. Um, I would encourage you to have a chat with women.
Inshallah. I love interviewing them. It's more fun than interviewing men, that's for sure. I learn a lot more from them.
Other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Starlit Swan. I hope you saw my note. Whatever you want added as an address, we'll add to our list, and then you can get your own login.
Oh, certainly. Thank you.
You can either email that to me or put it in the chat.
Okay.
It was actually me, and I found a way and signed it up and signed up. So I appreciate.
Oh,
Now I'm back
okay.
in myself.
Oh, yes. Okay, so you were the one that was, well, I didn't understand who was representing who, but now there's two of you. But the thing is, Melissa, are you on I need your email so that you can get all of our
Okay, I
announcements.
will. I'll put
I'll give
that.
you my email address if you want that. Let me go into chat and I'll just give everybody my email address.
Okay, that'll be perfect. I think because I signed up with the link, it should be. You should have it now.
Okay, but just to remind me, this is better because if you send me an actual email, otherwise it might get lost, is my word.
I will be more than happy to.
Okay, I think I got that right. Yes, I got that right. Just say add me to the Google contacts for the SF.
The thing is that that's my best friend, Melissa. So she couldn't find the link, so I share my link with her.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fine. She won't get individualized announcements. It'll all come to your mailbox. Now she'll get her own set of announcements in her mailbox. It's
Wonderful.
always better that way, you get all your own information and blah, blah, blah. So,
Yes.
okay, well, I'm not hearing too many other comments. Is there anyone else who wants to thank our speaker for this wonderful, heroic job of filling in? You did a good job.
Oh,
So
yes, he
very
did.
much.
It's a great job, Ahmad, as an impromptu and
Yeah,
telling us a lot.
very gracious.
Yeah, a lot of information. I learned a lot from you. I'm fascinated by your work now and your experience. So I hope we can be in touch.
Oh, not only that, Tim, where maybe we should ask our speaker, where can we get hold of some of your work in English? Do you have a way for us to get hold of it?
My
That's a good
CD,
question.
I have the links for it. Let's see.
So we'll hope to get those links, and remember, everyone, you can save the chat, and that will save everything. But if you just want the links to Emad's work, you can just cut and paste, highlight it and copy it, and then paste it over to Notebook or something.
Yeah. Thank you all. I have to leave.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed, again, and the
My
rest
pleasure.
of the group. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're always happy when you can make it. Let's see what's in chat here. Okay, so with that said, I guess that's it pretty much for our day's program. And go up to the three dots at the top if you want all of these wonderful links. But you might want to wait until Emad gets his. Do you have a link you're going to put in, Emad?
Yeah. Here's
Okay,
here's
so
a
wait for that
story
final link.
which is about balance between male and female,
Mhm.
and Chinese and Japanese.
Fine.
I forgot about that.
Oh, okay, here we go. And next time, I hope most of us will have looked at this story, and that'll make it much more interesting. We can talk to Emad about one of his stories that we all have looked at, or most of us have looked at. Okay, so with that, now that we have that link, go up to the top if you want all of these links. And there's three dots. You click on the three dots, and one of the top choice on my screen is Save Chat, and I've just saved my chat. And I'll give you plenty of
Here's a
time.
story from a female perspective. I forgot about this. Sorry. Yeah,
Very
an
good.
Iranian woman on Mars. Yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry.
Iranian woman on Mars. That's something that we in Arizona don't read every day. So very happy. And is this the second one you put in? Let me see. Oh, I've been copying them individually, so I'll have to get that one too. I also save chat, but sometimes I forget to look at my save chat. This I will remember. Okay. All right, so then at this point, I will wrap it up and say goodbye. I may edit some of these early parts, or I don't know, but it's going to be most of this. And normally I get it up in our, oh, do you all have the Zoom? You just have to let me give you I can give you the link. I'd have to go to it to give it to you. Hold on. Okay, here it is. This will give you the link to our science fiction channel. It will save you time rather than having to hunt for it. Here is the link. And you go to this link, and then you will be able to find all of the talks for maybe 4 years worth. And that is our Tucson Hard Science Fiction Zoomers channel on YouTube. So with that, I'll thank our speaker and say goodbye to everyone. And I hope to see you next time, because next time we're having Yitka Chakalova, who's going to be speaking about RUR and the dream of artificial life. And Iman, did you want to say goodbye to everyone or something?
Oh, bye. Sorry.
Okay. Saw you holding your mic there. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to hit the button, and bye-bye.
Bye.